The popular image of Samson is a biblical superhero with magic hair, but the actual text presents something much more unsettling, a case study in how a man, a community, and an empire bend around a concentrated force of superhuman power. At this point in history, the Philistine Empire has occupied Israel for 40 years. It's the longest era of oppression the nation has ever seen, but tragically it has become the new normal. The people have grown so accustomed to their chains that they no longer even ask for a rescuer. God initiates a rescue anyway through a miracle birth. But this superhuman is born into a strict, lifelong legal contract called the Nazirite vow. This vow was a commitment to total holiness, governed by 3 rules: nothing from the grapevine, no dead bodies, and no cutting hair. In theory, breaking this covenant results in the immediate loss of divine strength. If holiness disappears, the power vanishes with it. This makes Samson a living hypothetical. How does a single heart react when it is handed the power to destroy an army, but the character of a man who can't control himself? Samson's first adult act is tearing a lion apart with his bare hands. Later, he returns to the carcass, finds a beehive inside, and scoops out the honey. In one impulsive afternoon, he has violated rule number 2, no touching the dead. But look at the results. As rule 2 is crossed off, the power meter spikes. The Spirit of the Lord actually empowered him during the very act that broke the vow. He violated his holiness and came out stronger. Next comes his wedding feast, literally a drinking feast. For a man forbidden from the grapevine, he is now surrounding himself with it, crossing out rule 1. Yet again, his strength remains at its peak. Samson begins spending his strength on petty personal grudges. When he feels cheated over a bet, he catches 300 foxes, ties flaming torches to their tails, and burns the Philistine grain fields and olive groves to the ground. He has used a divine gift to avenge a wedding dispute. When the Philistines demand he be handed over, 3,000 of Samson's own countrymen go down to arrest him. They aren't angry at their oppressors, they're angry at Samson for disrupting the status quo. They choose to bind their own deliverer in ropes rather than fight for their freedom. As they hand him over, the Spirit of the Lord rushes on him again. He snaps the ropes, grabs the jawbone of a dead donkey, and kills 1,000 men. By this point, Samson has reached a dangerous conclusion. He has touched corpses and flouted the rules of the vine, yet he is stronger than ever. He believes the strength belongs to him, not to God, that his power is a fact of his nature rather than a gift of the Spirit. The Philistines finally realize that military force cannot stop a superhuman. They hire Delilah to find his off switch through emotional manipulation. Samson willingly plays her game, letting her tie him up as they test different secrets to his strength. He hands over the truth about his hair not because he's afraid, but because he's arrogant. He is so convinced of his own invincibility that he doesn't believe anything can actually switch him off. While he sleeps soundly on her knees, Delilah calls in a man and has his heavy locks shaved off, finally crossing out rule 3. Samson wakes up and prepares to shake himself free as he did the other times, but the writer notes a quiet, terrifying shift. He did not know that the Lord had departed from him. The strength was never in the hair. The hair was simply the final sign of a covenant Samson had stopped respecting years ago. The power was the Lord, and Samson was so spiritually numb that he never even felt the source leave the room. The capture is immediate and brutal. The Philistines gouge out his eyes, a dark irony for a man whose life was dictated by whatever looked right in his eyes. As he works the grain mill in the dark, his hair begins to grow back. But despite the returning hair, the superhuman power remains absent. He continues to grind in the prison, blind, shackled, and weak. During a massive temple festival, the Philistines haul Samson out to mock him before 3,000 guests. The former one-man army is now so helpless he must be led to the central pillars by the hand of a child. For the first time in 20 years of power, Samson stops reaching for his own strength and finally asks for it. He stands between the pillars and prays, "O Lord God, remember me. Strengthen me, please." To restore a violated Nazirite vow, the law required specific sacrifices: birds for the eyes and a lamb for the rededication. Standing between those pillars, Samson finally pivots from seeking a grudge to fulfilling his purpose. He provides the sacrifice himself, becoming the lamb that brings the temple down on the Philistine leadership. Samson's story isn't a myth about magic hair. It is a tragedy that proves his greatest victory didn't come through his physical might or his pride. It came through the moment he was finally broken enough to depend on the God he had spent a lifetime ignoring.